According to the National Center for Drug Abuse, over 165 million Americans ages 12 and up are currently abusing drugs or alcohol. Of those 165 million Americans, there is a mom, dad, sister, brother, wife, husband, son, daughter, or grandparent praying and pleading that they would stop. Addiction is a subject most people don't like to talk about and is kept behind closed doors. But the Finding Hope podcast will bring light to the subject and give families that are living in shame, guilt, hopelessness, fear, worry, and anger tools and education to find strength, peace, happiness, joy, and hope. Hello, I'm Amy LaRue, Finding Hope Coordinator for Hope is Alive Ministries and your host for this Finding Hope podcast. At Hope is Alive, our mission is to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. We do this through our intentional next level sober living homes and faith-based support groups for the loved ones of addicts called Finding Hope.
Thank you for joining us today. Just a reminder, our Finding Hope retreats are hitting the road this year. We recently returned from Tennessee and California, where we saw hope restored and community built. There are still opportunities to join us for these upcoming retreats in Nebraska, Texas, Florida, and a very special one just for wives here in Oklahoma. For details and registration, go to fhretreats.com. We also have our upcoming Run for Hope on September 6th. This is a meaningful event, is a time to honor and remember those we've lost, while also raising awareness and breaking the stigma around addiction. We would love for you to join us in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Weatherford, Oklahoma, or virtually. You can sign up, submit a picture of your loved one, or volunteer at runforhoperace.com. But today I have a very special guest with us, Mr. Eli Stephens. Many of you know his mom, Darcy Stephens, who has joined me on this podcast many times. But today our focus is a little bit different perspective. We want to focus on a teen that might have a parent that struggles with substances. So welcome, Eli.
Hey.
Thank you for being with us. You want to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
I just graduated high school, and I have a little plan I'm going to Rose State College for 2 years. We get 2 free years at Rose State.
Awesome.
And it's in our Middle district. So
what are you going for?
I'm going to go for music.
Music. And you do a lot. Right now you're doing an internship. What are you doing? Who are you doing it through, and what are you doing?
I'm kind of doing like a combo.
Okay.
So I'm going to do the Switch, which is the youth ministry, and then worship.
And that's through Life Church, correct?
Yes.
Very good. What else you're busy. I know your mom and I were at this retreat, and you're just always on the go. So what else do you like to do and enjoy? You lead worship, you do that. What else do you enjoy?
Just going to the gym, working on myself, getting into the Word.
Yeah.
And I kind of drive my siblings around.
You're Uber driver.
Yeah.
So my oldest just turned 16, so you'll appreciate her, not me as a mom. And it's like, oh, now you can drive your sister and your brother places. So you get to do that all the time, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have an older brother,
Mm-hmm.
then it's you, and then 2 younger sisters. So you're kind of in the middle-ish, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Well, we're just going to jump right in and just get started. So tell our listeners a little bit about when you realize things in your house might not be, per se, normal.
I would say I realized about 6 or 7 years old.
And you're 17 right now.
Yes.
Almost 18.
Yeah, almost 18.
Yeah. So what did you feel like when you were 6 or 7? That's being that young and realizing it's very mature of you. So what didn't feel normal, would you say?
Well, I would see my parents fight a lot, and then, I would come out from being asleep and see holes in the wall, and, sometimes even one parent not there.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, as a 6 and 7-year-old, what were you feeling? Do you remember?
I was I felt like really scared because I don't know where my mom was or my dad. And I also was like really sad because, you know, they were gone and, you know, there's holes in the wall. So I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. What happened overnight?
Yeah.
So when did you learn that your dad struggled with substances?
I kind of realized that was the problem around like 11 or 12 when he went to rehab.
What did you know about rehab, or what did you think it was? You know, as a kid, I remember telling our kids were 3 and 6 at the time when my husband went to rehab. And we told them at their level, like, this is your daddy's sick, right? At a 6-year-old, that's what they need to hear. 3-year-old had no clue what was going on, but your daddy's sick and going away for a while. What do you remember learning about that at that time, or being told maybe?
Well, the day before he went to rehab, there was like a big fight and stuff, and he ended up going to jail for overnight. So when he came back from getting processed and all that, he came back and said that he's going to rehab, and I was like, and so I asked, what is that? And he was like, it's just a place to for me to detox, and I'll be gone for 45 days. And I was like, wow, I'm going to be without my dad for 45 days.
Yeah. So when he used the word detox, did you understand what that meant at the time?
No, I just thought he was just going there to chill out.
How was it feeling when he got arrested? What did that like?
I mean, it was scary because, you know, seeing your dad on the ground with handcuffs, really scary.
So you witnessed him being arrested. Yeah. And, you know, that's hard as a kid. That's we talk about it, that's a big trauma, right? And at 11 and 12-year-old, not really, your brain's still developing at age 17 too. But not understanding what's going on. And sometimes I've even talked to people where they thought growing up in this type of environment, it was normal. Like they thought growing up in this, like when I've gone to Al-Anon and stuff and hearing people, they're like, I didn't realize there was another way, another part of living. Like, would you go to friends' houses and realize it was different there, or avoid having friends come to your house because of what was going on?
I mostly tried at a younger age, to stay at friends' houses because, you know, I didn't want to come home because it was really scary there and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I had this one friend that lived on the corner of my neighborhood, and I would just go over to his house and stay the night as much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. It almost I would escape to Kansas to go be with my parents. So you were almost trying to escape out of what was going on in your house and just have a safe place for you during that time.
Yeah.
And so did you ever, I mean, I know you a little bit and what your mom shared with me, and did you ever feel as a guy in the household, right? So here's your dad who struggles with substances. Did you ever feel like you had to step up or step in and take that responsibility or protect your sisters or your mom in that environment?
There was only one situation that I can remember where I stepped up and, you know, defended my mom, and that ended up with me getting hit.
You got repercussion from it, in a sense. And so when that happened, what did you feel through all of that?
You know, I just felt angry and sad, and I ran out the house to my friend's house and, you know, stayed over there for a little bit until the situation was handled. So
did you feel like you had to stay out of it all the time?
Yeah.
Could you talk to people like your friend or friends at school or your teachers or anybody? Were you able, maybe church leaders, were you able to talk to anybody, or did you just keep it, internalize it all?
I mostly kept it internalized. I didn't really know how to process it and how to talk about it yet at that time. So I mostly just kept it all inside.
And so your dad went to rehab when you were, what did you say, 11 or 12?
Yeah.
And he did that. He did a great job. He went into one of our sober living homes, correct?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you've been a part of this roller coaster, and your mom, after your dad, and she shares on this podcast a lot, after he started to get better is when she felt like she could start to get better. And because there started to be calmness in a sense. He was in a sober living home. And so she started to get taking care of herself. But she also got connected to an organization here in Oklahoma City that you got to be a part of. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So the organization, Peaceful Family Oklahoma, is like one of the lifesavers for me. They really taught me how to, talk about my feelings and get it out and drop the bag of rocks that I'm carrying around that are weighing me down.
So what were some of those rocks you had been carrying?
Fear, anxiety, sadness, anger, guilty, and shame. That's really all I can remember what I shared. Embarrassed.
Yeah, all those. We all feel that. And so at this, it's for children. They have a program for children and a program for teens. And have you done both or just the teen side?
Yeah, I went through both. I went through the kids when I was 13, and then I was part of the first teen program.
And so you said you learned how to let go of these rocks that you were carrying. And they do. They have like a backpack, right? When you hold on to these rocks, and we all carry it. Adults carry it. We all carry these weights. We're weighed down by these things that you said: anxiety, shame, guilt, embarrassment, all these things. So how were you as a teen? I mean, that's very mature. Again, like learning, okay, these aren't mine to carry. How do I get rid of these rocks? So what did you learn to work on getting rid of these rocks that you were carrying, or how did you do it?
Just really talking about it and getting it out. That's the big saying that we say when I go through the program, is talking about it and getting it out. And, just finding a space that's comfortable for you, maybe writing it down, journaling, and then finding a safe person to talk.
And so you found that within this group, this
Yes.
support group. So at Peaceful Family Oklahoma, how often do you guys meet?
We have a family support group every first Monday of the month.
So you guys continuing to go. You've been going for how many years now?
I think like 4.
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
And so you guys continue to go as a family. So your mom actually goes, and she has her group, and then there's a group for teens and a group for children, and you do. It's just like it is at Finding Hope, right? Or another support group, a safe place where you can share openly and learn how to gain these tools. So what has helped you in your own recovery process in all of this? What is the biggest tool or thing that you might use on a daily or a weekly that has helped keep you grounded?
Really just finding that community that I can go to and going to the gym. That kind of keeps my mind off stuff. I go a lot when, something happened, like a situation at home. I go to the gym and just kind of keep my mind off of it. And I can drop rocks there because I'm with my friends and I can talk to them about it.
Do you feel comfortable talking to your friends now about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you wish people understood more about kids that have parents who struggle with addiction?
For me, what I would say, like, kids, even though they're young, they still have a good, moral compass. Like, they still are smart and they know they know what's going on.
They're smarter than we think.
Yeah. Because, as a kid, my dad would always say, "You're just a kid. You don't know anything." And I'm like, I can see you doing that, and I know that's wrong. So why are you saying that? I'm not smart and that I don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So did you start to take that on, that maybe I'm not as smart, or maybe I'm not seeing things as I am?
Because he would always belittle me when I would stand up from my mom and say, "You're just a kid."
Yeah. And so going through this program and finding your community has really helped you in that sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so good. Like actually your mom did a lot of research on this as for Finding Hope. And I think it's important to remember kids are smarter than we think, right? They take in, not just the language they hear, they can pick up the body language. Just recently this week, I was talking to a mom that lost her son to an overdose, and she's doing a lot with the grandkids now, right? And she's like, I have to put up a mask and pretend like everything's okay around them. I can't cry around them. I said, actually, you can. It's actually healthy for them to see you grieve and to know it's okay to cry about this and that you feel sad. And so I think when we do that as adults, it helps the kids realize it's okay that I can have these feelings. These rocks I'm carrying are normal, right? And that's why I told her, I said, it's normal for you to feel that way. And it's okay that your kid, the grandkids, and letting them have a safe place to share. And I think we have to remember to meet the kids at their level, right?
Yeah.
What you say to a 6-year-old is not going to be the same thing as you say to a 15-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And many times, a lot of times when kids are in this environment, I'm a former teacher, so I have the kids thing really, I love researching and learning all about it too, is they grow up a lot faster than they need to, right? They take on these. That's why I was kind of asking you, like, they take on these roles, they step in, maybe trying to be, doing the things that the husband should be doing for the mom, or protecting. It sounds like you're trying to protect your mom in that sense. And so we have to make sure we meet them at their level, but don't cover it up too. Like, getting a feeling chart. Like there's these charts. I don't know if you guys use that Peaceful Family.
Yeah, we do.
So like you can get these pie charts, and we might even be able to link some of them on the show notes with this, and just having that conversation. Like, how are you feeling? Like pointing to it and starting to have those open conversations. And a lot of times just having a safe place for kids to share openly with them, whether it is in their home or it's in a support group or it's in a counselor. Like they need a safe place to share this. Yeah. And I think it's important that also it goes back to our motto at Finding Hope, right? Like through Peaceful Family and through these conversations, you've probably learned you're not alone in this. Yeah. Did you ever feel alone in all of it before though?
Sometimes. And then I would go to my friend's house and not feel alone anymore. Like when I was by myself in my room, I would always feel like alone and that there's no one to help me. But then I would go to my friend's house.
But did you feel, even when you went to your friend's house, that you were the only one going through it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. And that's normal. Like, it's like you were almost escaping, right? And like, okay. And I would do that too. I would escape to Kansas, but because I did feel all alone, but I wanted to be in a safe place. A statistic I have is 1 out of 3, let me say that again, 1 out of 3 children under the age of 18 is living or impacted in some way by someone's addiction. That means, I just think about my classroom when I was a teacher and I had 20 kids, right? How many of those kids were impacted by addiction that I never knew? There's some I did know openly. I'm grateful that I had the knowledge and was able to love on them and support them in what they needed. But that just shows again that children aren't alone, but sometimes we think, like you were saying, we don't think they see everything or know everything, but you guys do. Like I said, the body language, the words, even if you go to your room to escape, you still can hear it. You can feel the tenseness. And many times, also we say at Finding Hope, it's not your fault. Did you ever feel like it was your fault?
When I would stand up for my mom and get repercussions, I would feel.
You feel like it was your fault? Yeah. Yeah. And you might have started to believe that. Sometimes people will say, well, if I didn't get that bad grade, then my parents wouldn't fight. Then my mom wouldn't leave. I know if I did better in school, this might not be, right? But like we say, we know addiction is a disease and it's not your fault. But sometimes even the kids might say, I don't know what I did. It just feels like it's because of me. Something I did as a kid is making my parent, my mom, or my dad drink. And so it's my fault. And maybe even the parent says it, right? And then we start to believe it, and kids start to believe those things, those lies. And so to make sure kids realize and to be open, if you're talking to a kid going through it, that it's not your fault, that letting them write it down, right? Like you're saying, journaling it, or if they're too young for it, like letting them draw the pictures, like showing them like, it's not your fault. Why do you feel like it's a fault? Show it, and then letting it go, whether they burn it or they rip it up or do something, but making sure that those kids feel like it's not their fault and they have someone to talk about when they do feel like it's their fault. But there is hope, and that's our last part of our motto. And and to making sure we share with our kids that there is hope, and the hope we find when we're anchored to Jesus. Again, all this needs to be at their level, whether they're 6 years old, 10 years old, 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's just so important, and all of this, to not put it behind a closed door. I'm pointing to the door, but no one can see me right now besides you. Putting it behind a closed door. So many times we want to hide it, but yes, we need to protect them, but we need to also give them a safe place to share openly. And if you don't feel like you can be that safe place for them, finding that counselor or finding that support group. And we have a bunch of other resources. Yes, Oklahoma, we have this amazing program called Peaceful Family Oklahoma, and it's only in Oklahoma. But we have some other resources. We can also link in the show notes to get more resources and stuff in people's hands right away. So what advice would you give to another teenager that might be in a similar situation that you have been in?
I would tell them that, you're not alone, and that it's not your fault, and that it's okay to feel those feelings out. Because especially for me as a young man, we're taught to, shield our feelings, not cry. And, sometimes the strongest men do cry.
Absolutely.
And they do feel their feelings out, and they do talk about their feelings. So I would just tell them it's okay to feel your feelings, and that you're not alone, and that you have people that are with you and will help you through this situation that you're going through.
Who would you suggest they reach out to?
I would suggest Finding Hope and Peaceful Family.
Mm-hmm. Finding that safe person. And it might not be the other parent right now, right? It might be that church leader. It might be your school counselor. It might be another, a friend's parent. And it might not like you have to shout it from the rooftop, but just letting them know, like, hey, I'm struggling with this. And I love that you talked about the feelings. And too many times we put up that mask, and men do it. And I love that you've learned this at the age of 17, because God gave us those emotions. He gave us those tears. Sometimes we just have to cry, to get it all out, and that's okay. And we need that permission. Sometimes I don't even know why I'm crying. It's just, I just need to let it out, right? Yeah. And so I'll be like, my daughter one time was like, what's wrong, Mom? I was like, I just having a hard day, and I just need to cry today, and that's okay. And so I'm glad you shared that with us. Anything else you want to leave our listeners with today?
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing and being transparent and vulnerable on here. And I know, if you're 17, 10 years of this and the growth and the change. And I know your mom is so proud. I am going to do this. I wouldn't let her be in this room. What would you tell your mom right now? She's listening.
Thank you for, giving me the opportunity to be able to do this and, help people my age and younger than me, and sometimes maybe even older than me. Just want to thank her.
Yeah. And she's come a long ways too. And I just love your family and your mom and you. And so thank you for being here with us, and good luck at Rose State. And I know you're going to do great. I love listening to your mom post about your singing and all of that and your internship this year. Right now you're in the summer. So enjoy that. And I'm really proud of you too, Eli. So I like to leave our listeners with a challenge every time, right? Mm-hmm. And that challenge today is, I want you to think, are you shielding your people around you today, the children? Are you making it hard for them to have an open space to share? And if so, take that next step. Look at these resources in our show notes. What can you do? And if you don't feel comfortable, reach out to a counselor or somebody that is a safe place for them to share. And I want you to also remember, another challenge is, you need the support just as much as the kids. So continue to get support for yourself through them so that you can support them. They say all the time on the airplane, we just got back, put on that oxygen mask first so you can help that child next to you. So thank you guys so much for joining me this week. You can learn more about Finding Hope at findinghope.today. But before you go, I would love for you to give us a 5-star review, share this on social media, and subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss our next hope-filled episode. Thanks again for joining me, Amy LaRue, and our special guest, Eli Stephens, in this episode of Finding Hope. And remember, you are not alone. It's not your fault. There is hope.